The galaxy had known peace for 10,000 years, not the peace of friendship or understanding, but the peace of absolute control. The Dominion ruled everything. 12 ancient species held power over 300 billion star systems. They controlled trade, war, science, and life itself. Every younger species that rose from their home worlds learned the same lesson quickly: obey the Dominion or face extinction. The Dominion had destroyed 17 civilizations in their long history. They did not do this with anger or hatred. They did it with cold efficiency. Any species that refused to bow, any people who questioned the old laws, any civilization that grew too ambitious, they were simply erased. Their planets were burned. Their histories were deleted from the great archives. Their names were forgotten. This was how the galaxy worked. The strong ruled, the weak served, and everyone feared the Dominion. Then humanity arrived. The first contact happened near a small yellow star on the outer edge of the Orion Arm. A Dominion patrol vessel detected strange radio signals coming from the third planet of the system. The signals were primitive but organized. Someone was broadcasting into space. Commander of the Dominion Scout Fleet was the first alien to see human transmissions. He watched their broadcasts with growing confusion. These creatures were small, soft, and fragile. They had no natural weapons, no claws, no venom, no thick skin to protect them. They lived short lives on a world that constantly tried to kill them with storms, earthquakes, and diseases. Yet they were smiling in almost every transmission. They were laughing. They were building cities and creating art and exploring their tiny moon with primitive rockets. They looked up at the stars with wonder instead of fear. Reported his findings to the High Council of the Dominion. The 12 ruling species gathered in their ancient chamber to discuss this new discovery. They watched the human broadcasts and made their decision within hours. Humanity would be given the standard choice: submit to the Dominion and serve for eternity, or refuse and be destroyed like all the others. A delegation was sent to Earth. 3 massive warships appeared in the sky above the planet's largest cities. The humans did not run. They did not hide. Millions of them came outside and looked up at the ships with curiosity. Some were afraid, yes, but most simply wanted to see what was happening. The Dominion ambassador, a towering creature named Lord Al, descended to meet the human leaders. He stood 3 meters tall with 4 arms and skin like polished stone. His species, had ruled the Dominion for 6,000 years. They were the oldest and most powerful of the 12. Lord Al delivered his message in the human language he had learned during the journey. He told them about the Dominion. He explained the rules. He described what happened to species that refused to obey. He showed them recordings of destroyed worlds, burning cities, and extinct peoples. The human leaders listened quietly. When Lord Al finished, he expected them to tremble. He expected them to beg. He expected them to immediately surrender. Instead, a human woman named Director Sarah stepped forward. She was small, barely reaching Al's chest. Her hair was gray with age. Her hands were steady. "Thank you for the information," she said calmly. "We will need some time to discuss this among ourselves. Can we meet again in 3 days?" Lord Al was confused. This had never happened before. Every other species had either surrendered immediately or attacked in desperate panic. No one had ever asked for time to think. He agreed to wait. For 3 days, the humans talked among themselves. The Dominion ships watched from orbit, their weapons ready. The 12 species of the High Council waited for the expected surrender. On the 3rd day, Director returned with her answer. "We decline your offer," she said. "We will not serve the Dominion, but we also do not wish to fight you. We propose a third option. Let us exist as we are. We will trade with you. We will share knowledge with you. We will be your neighbors in the galaxy, but we will not be your servants." Lord Al stared at her for a long moment. Then he did something he had not done in 300 years of service. He laughed. "You do not understand," he said. "There is no third option. There has never been a third option. You are small and weak and young. Your entire civilization could be destroyed in a single day. Your planet could be turned to ash before your sun sets. Why do you not fear us?" Director looked up at him. Her eyes were calm. Her voice did not shake. "We know what you can do to us," she said. "We have seen your recordings. We understand that you have the power to end our existence. But fear is a choice, Lord Al, and we choose not to make it." The ambassador returned to his ship without another word. He reported to the High Council that the humans had refused. The council ordered the standard response. The human world would be destroyed. But something strange happened. When the Dominion fleet arrived in the Sol system, they found humanity waiting for them. Not with weapons. The humans had nothing that could threaten Dominion warships. They waited with cameras and broadcasts and messages. Every human on Earth was watching the sky. They knew what was coming. They had been told that their world might end that day, and yet they did not run. They did not hide in bunkers or pray to their gods for salvation. They stood outside, looking up, and they broadcast their final message to the galaxy. "We are humanity," the message said. "We have lived on our small world for 300,000 years. We have survived ice ages and plagues and wars. We have built wonders and made terrible mistakes. We have loved and lost and begun again. Today we may end, but we want the universe to know that we were here, we existed, we mattered, and we were not afraid." The Dominion Fleet Commander, Admiral, watched this broadcast on every frequency. He saw human families holding each other. He saw children playing in streets. He saw old men and women sitting in gardens, watching the ships above them with quiet dignity. He saw young people raising their hands toward the sky as if reaching for the stars they would never touch. He gave the order to fire. The weapons powered up. The targeting systems locked onto major population centers. In moments, 10 billion lives would end. Then Admiral stopped. He looked at the humans again. He saw their faces. He saw their calm acceptance. He saw something he had never seen in any species across 300 billion star systems. He saw beings who had chosen to face death with grace instead of terror. Admiral was old. He had served the Dominion for 400 years. He had destroyed 3 civilizations himself. He had watched countless species beg and scream and die. He had never once questioned his orders. But something about the humans broke, something inside him. He powered down the weapons. The High Council was furious. They demanded to know why the human world still existed. Admiral gave his report. "They did not fear us," he said. "They knew they would die, and they accepted it without terror. They chose dignity over desperation. I have destroyed civilizations that fought us. I have destroyed civilizations that surrendered to us. But I found that I could not destroy a civilization that simply looked at us and refused to be afraid." The council debated for months. Some demanded that Admiral be executed and a new fleet sent to finish the job. Others were disturbed by what they had heard. They had ruled through fear for 10,000 years. Fear was the foundation of their power. What did it mean that one small species was immune to it? They sent observers to Earth instead of warships. They studied humanity closely. They wanted to understand how these fragile creatures had developed such strange psychology. What they found terrified them. Humans had evolved on a death world. Their planet was violent and unstable. Predators hunted them. Diseases ravaged them. Natural disasters destroyed their cities again and again. And yet they kept going. They rebuilt after every catastrophe. They adapted to every challenge. They turned their fear into fuel for survival. Over thousands of years, humans had learned to live with fear as a constant companion. They did not ignore it. They did not pretend it was not real. They simply refused to let it control them. The Dominion had always believed that fear was the most powerful force in the universe. They had built their entire empire on this belief. But humans proved that there was something stronger than fear. There was will. The will to stand up even when standing was hopeless. The will to face the darkness even when the light seemed forever lost. The will to remain true to oneself even in the face of total destruction. The Dominion did not know how to fight this. Their weapons could destroy bodies. Their power could crush armies, but they could not break something they could not touch. Over the following years, humanity spread into the galaxy. They did not conquer. They did not demand. They simply existed, trading and learning and exploring. And wherever they went, they brought their strange immunity with them. Other species began to notice. The young civilizations that had always bowed to the Dominion started watching humans. They saw how these small creatures walked among the ancient powers without trembling. They saw humans laugh at threats and smile at danger and face impossible odds with steady hands. Slowly, the fear that held the galaxy together began to crack. It would take centuries before the Dominion finally fell. Their empire did not collapse in war or revolution. It simply faded as species after species learned the lesson that humanity had taught them. Fear was a chain, and chains only held power over those who accepted them. The humans never claimed credit for what happened. When historians later wrote about the fall of the Dominion, they described complex political and economic factors. They talked about internal conflicts and resource depletion and cultural shifts. But the oldest species remembered the truth. They remembered the day when 3 Dominion warships appeared in the sky of a small blue world, carrying the power to end everything. And they remembered the impossible sight of 10 billion beings looking up at their own death and choosing, with full knowledge and clear minds, not to be afraid. That was the day the Dominion truly ended. They simply did not know it yet. Humanity stepped into the galaxy expecting nothing and demanding nothing. They did not come as conquerors or saviors or chosen ones. They came as they had always been, fragile creatures from a violent world who had learned that fear was not something that happened to you. Fear was something you decided to feel. And when the Dominion met the one species that had decided differently, they discovered that all their power meant nothing. They could not rule those who would not be ruled. They could not terrify those who would not be terrified. They could not break those who had already accepted being broken and rebuilt themselves anyway. The galaxy changed after that day. It took generations, but it changed. And at the center of that change, neither leading nor following, humanity simply continued to exist. They built their cities among the stars. They raised their children on distant worlds. They made friends with species that had once conquered entire galaxies. And whenever someone asked them how they had done it, how they had walked into the domain of gods without trembling, they gave the same answer. They had been afraid. Of course they had been afraid. Only fools felt no fear. But they had also been human, and humans had long ago learned that fear was just another obstacle, just another challenge to overcome, just another darkness to walk through on the way to the light. The Dominion had ruled through terror for 10,000 years. They had believed that fear was eternal and absolute. Humanity proved them wrong, not with weapons or armies or superior technology, but with the simple, stubborn, impossible refusal to let fear win. That was enough. That was always enough. And that was how humanity changed the galaxy forever.